The mound goes quiet. Two round, buttery yellow eyes blink up at the sky from a hole no wider than a dinner plate. A young burrowing owl stands at the entrance of its burrow, bobbing its head up and down like it's trying to shake loose a thought. It isn't nervous, it's listening. Somewhere above the grass line, a shadow has just crossed the sun. If the secret life of owls fascinates you, stick around and hit that subscribe button. There's a lot more hiding in the dark, and even more hiding in the daylight. Because here's the strange part. This owl isn't hunting at night. It's the middle of the morning and it's wide awake, standing right out in the open on ground level with nothing but a mound of loose dirt between it and the rest of the world. And circling high above the grassland, riding a thermal without so much as a wing beat, is a red-tailed hawk. A hunter that works the exact same shift this owl does. For most owls, day and night are a kind of truce. The owls take the dark, the hawks take the light, and the two rarely have to look each other in the eye. But the burrowing owl broke that truce a long time ago. It's active by day. It nests in the ground instead of a tree. And that means its worst enemy isn't a stranger that shows up once in a while, and it's a neighbor. A neighbor that can see for miles, dive at tremendous speed, and strike from directly above with almost no warning at all. So how does a bird barely the height of a soda can survive that kind of pressure, out in the open, day after day? The answer starts with real estate. Burrowing owls don't dig their own homes. They move into burrows abandoned by prairie dogs, ground squirrels, or badgers and quietly make the place their own. A single burrow can run 6 to 9 feet back into the earth, sloping down 3 to 5 feet before opening into a rounded chamber at the end. From above, it looks like nothing more than a scrape in the dirt. From inside, it's a fortress with only one door. That single entrance is both the danger and the design. Everything that matters happens at ground level here, which is exactly why the owls choose land that's been chewed down low by grazing animals. Short grass, open sight lines, nothing tall enough to give a predator a hidden perch. A hawk can't ambush what it can't sneak up on. So the owls trade the safety of height that most birds rely on for something else entirely. Visibility. They'd rather see the danger coming from half a mile away than hide from it up close. And they rarely do this alone. Burrowing owls often settle in loose colonies, burrow after burrow, spaced across the same stretch of grassland. It isn't just convenient, it's a warning system. One owl clocks the hawk's shadow, and the whole neighborhood knows within seconds. Watch a colony long enough and you'll notice the bobbing again. That odd, jerky up and down motion that made these owls internet famous, long before anyone understood why they do it. It isn't a nervous tick. Researchers who study the behavior believe it helps the bird judge depth and distance, shifting its head to line up sound and shape from slightly different angles, the same way we might tilt our head to get a better read on something far away. It's a live calculation, running in real time. How far? How fast? How much longer until that shape in the sky stops circling and starts falling? Because when a red-tailed hawk does commit to a stoop, there's very little room for error. It can gain enormous speed in a dive, wings tucked, talons leading. For a rabbit or a ground squirrel caught in the open, there's rarely a second chance. But a burrowing owl has one advantage almost no other owl on Earth can claim. The burrow is always within a few steps, and that changes the entire equation. This isn't a bird that has to outfly a hawk. It just has to outsprint it to the hole. Long legs help. Compared to other owls, this species stands unusually tall and lean, built more like a shorebird than a typical round owl. And it uses those legs constantly, walking, hopping, chasing insects across open ground on foot, rather than always taking to the air. When the moment comes, that same build lets it cover the last few feet to the entrance in a blur, low and fast, and simply vanish underground before the hawk's talons ever close. And if the threat gets past the doorway, if a predator actually pushes into the tunnel itself, the burrow has one more surprise waiting. Deep inside, young owls that are startled or cornered will let out a call. A dry, rattling hiss. It sounds almost exactly like a rattlesnake coiled and ready to strike. No predator with any sense wants to reach a hand or a paw into a dark hole that might contain a venomous snake, and the resemblance is close enough that it works. A bluff passed down through generations of chicks that have never even met a real rattlesnake, using a sound as their only shield. It's one of the more remarkable pieces of natural mimicry in the bird world, a defense built entirely out of borrowed fear. The burrow itself is armed too in its own quiet way. Female owls line the chamber and the entrance with dried manure from grazing animals, dragging it in bit by bit. For years, the purpose puzzled observers, but the leading explanations point to more than one job at once. The dung may help mask the scent of the owls from ground predators sniffing along the grass, while also drawing in dung beetles and other insects that the owls then simply step outside and eat. A doormat that doubles as bait. Even the alarm system evolves as the chicks grow. By the time young owls are 3 or 4 weeks old, families will often shift to a second, non-nesting burrow nearby, then move again every week or two after that. It looks like restlessness. It's actually strategy. A moving target is harder for any predator, aerial or otherwise, to pattern and plan around. If you're enjoying this journey into the owl's world, a quick like helps more people discover it. None of this makes the red-tailed hawk a villain in the story. It's simply doing what it has always done. Scanning the grassland from a soaring height, reading movement most of us would never notice, feeding itself and, eventually, its own chicks the exact same way. Studies that have tracked predator activity around burrowing owl colonies consistently find this hawk showing up more than almost any other threat in the area, circling and testing, patient in the way only a creature with that kind of eyesight can afford to be. The tension between these two birds isn't a grudge. It's just two different survival plans occupying the same patch of sky and dirt. One built around height and speed, the other built around a hole in the ground and a very good bluff. There's a reason this species can afford to live so exposed in the first place, and it has to do with the neighborhood it keeps. Burrowing owls have adapted to landscapes most predators consider marginal. Dry pastures, prairie dog towns, even the mowed edges of golf courses and airports, places with short grass and wide sightlines that people built by accident. In many of these spots, the same burrow gets used year after year. Pairs return to it generation after generation, the way a family might return to the same house. Not because the door is fancy, but because it's proven, and because moving somewhere unfamiliar is its own kind of risk. Territory still has to be earned, though, and defended, and that job falls mostly to the males. Long before a hawk ever becomes the threat of the day, a male owl spends the early breeding season chasing off rival males, puffing his feathers, dropping into a low, weaving crouch, and cooing out a two-note call, meant to say, unmistakably, this ground is taken. Talons come out when posturing alone doesn't settle it. It's a smaller, quieter kind of confrontation than the one playing out overhead, but it's the reason there's a burrow worth defending from the sky in the first place. All of this and the shared burrow, the colony's early warning system, the sprint to the door, the borrowed rattle in the dark, adds up to something bigger than one owl's survival. Grasslands lose burrowing mammals to development and disease more each year, and every prairie dog town or ground squirrel colony that disappears takes potential owl real estate with it. Which means an owl's fate here is tied to a chain of species most people never think about. The mammal that dug the hole, the grass kept short enough to see danger coming, and the balance between hunters that never quite tips all the way in one direction. And so the standoff plays out again and again across the season. A shadow drifts over the grass. A head bobs, judging the angle. A short, tense pause where nothing moves at all, and then either the shadow slides past, unbothered, hunting something smaller and slower a field away, or it doesn't. If it turns, if it drops, the owl doesn't wait to find out how serious the intent is. Legs already coiled, it's gone in an instant, folding itself back into the safety of the tunnel while the chicks scramble for the depths of the chamber and let their rattling bluff do the rest of the work. Whichever way it goes, the colony carries on. Eggs still need incubating. Chicks still need to be walked out into the sun to build their strength and their instincts, one wobbly head bob at a time. The next generation is already learning this same choreography before they've even taken their first real flight, reading shadows, trusting the burrow, letting a stolen rattlesnake sound do the talking when talking is all that's left. Out on the open grassland, safety was never about being the strongest thing in the sky. It was about knowing exactly where the door is and never being more than a few fast steps away from it. Which part of this mystery surprised you the most? Drop it in the comments and follow along, because the daylight, it turns out, has just as many secrets as the night.